Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and yesterday documents were released regarding Roger Stone, Wikileaks, Julian Assange, the FBI, and of course Guccifer 2.0 in regards to what? The hacked emails. And what was really interesting is that not only did WikiLeaks tweet these out, but it appears that they highlighted certain sections for people to see. Anybody can go and get these documents, and I think that's extremely important to note. This was tweeted out by WikiLeaks. The documents that I believe, I would say the highlighted margins, the ones in red, are the reason. That's WikiLeaks doing. That's not in the original documents. Before we get into this story and how it relates to Roger Stone and who Roger Stone is and why we actually should be lobbying for Roger Stone in this case, and I'll get to that, the conundrums, right? The fact that he isn't the best guy, but in this case, he did do the right thing. Before we get into all that, what's in these documents, etc., thumbs this video up, subscribe, share, and remember, I am completely demonetized on this platform. Completely. I don't know that I'm going to hit my 5K goal. I really wanted to. I got to pay taxes on all of this. And it's very hard to make a living, especially in New York. And I know it's hard for a lot of you guys out there, especially right now during COVID 1984, without the fair income. And it really wasn't even fair that YouTube was producing, right? They crippled me. No super chats, no explanation, 1,200 plus videos on this channel, no strikes at all, whether they be copyright or terms and conditions strikes, none of that stuff. And they just arbitrarily decided, hey, we're going to take away any chance of you making revenue. Forget about just demonetizing each individual video out of the gates and then making you manually review them. We just won't allow you a chance to make any money on this platform, okay? And by the way, I'm going to appeal it on the 6th when I get that chance. So thank you guys who have supported me and let me keep my head above water because I have other platforms, et cetera, et cetera. There's no, what's that? Oh, that's what I didn't want to do. I was looking up a cancer video earlier. All right. So Roger Stone, let's just read the highlights here because there's a few of them here. And remember, we've talked about this before, but Roger Stone has basically said that the FBI offered him a deal if he had dirt on Trump, but Stone refused to perjure himself. And Roger Stone, mentored by Roy Cohn. Trump, by the way, also mentored by Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn, not a good guy. Not a good guy. Go watch Where's My Roy Cohn if you need confirmation that Roy Cohn was not a great person. Also, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, who's in jail right now, are the godfathers of lobbying, modern day lobbying, which has eviscerated the ability of the people to hold their politicians' feet to the fire. What do I mean? Your senator, your congressman, your governor, your assemblyman, all of those people are essentially bought and paid for by these powerful lobbies that have an uber amount of money. Those become their constituents, right? Those are the people they're concerned with, not you and I. Not you and I. And modern day lobbying must be crushed if we ever want a constitutional republic back. You want to be a lobbyist? It should not be a career path, okay? That is not the way to do it. And you see the incentives, the kickbacks that they give to so many of these politicians after the fact, getting unbelievable jobs when they go into the private sector for these companies, corporations that have been lobbied on behalf of, right? And given every deal before they get out of office. And they always make sure that they own the next guy that comes in. So that being said, and we could even talk about Roger Stone and his connection to Nexium, basically going in there and not lobbying for Nexium, but taking an assessment of what it was and then seeing where they would go forward, kind of like one of these analyst types. There's a ton of stuff about Roger Stone we can get into. But when it comes to WikiLeaks, when it comes to the validity of these emails, they're all real. They're all real. And who do you think would put out emails against a political party other than their opposition, right? So I'm just going to read this short synopsis. But again, if you want to, it's only a 31-page document. If you want to read the documents for yourself, and there's a ton of other documents out there. These are just the ones that were released within the last 24 hours. We'll just go to the synopsis, which is pretty relevant, right? The FBI has released a cache of messages exchanged between Roger Stone and the Republican political fixer and WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange during the 2016 presidential campaign. The exchanges cast new light on Stone's role as an unofficial channel between the Trump campaign and WikiLeaks. He was an unofficial channel for Trump and more than WikiLeaks, folks. Way, way more than WikiLeaks, okay? Don't you think he was an unofficial channel for InfoWars and Trump and the campaign? Of course he was. Of course, and well beyond that, too. I just want to make that known. But Stone's a smart guy. And, utilizing InfoWars, being able to have his own program, being able to not only talk about it there with Owen Schroyer, but also have Jones launch into it, is one of the reasons that Trump won so handily. Now, there's a lot of reasons. It wasn't just InfoWars that got him elected. A lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about the average American that came out to vote for Trump just because he was involved in WWE wrestling or just because he was a popular TV show host. He said, "You're fired." But the wrestling fans, man, they're rampant. Okay? They came out in droves. That silent majority really did vote for Trump. And I got to tell you, those that were on the fence when they saw these emails and they actually read them, they also decided to vote for Trump. And that's why it was so hard to control the narrative that we should be pushing for Russian collusion. You've only got I wouldn't even say half the population believe that, even with the massive amount of media nonsense pushing it, right? There were those that were indifferent. They knew it. But then you had such a fervor on the left for hating Trump, they were able to push that. And again, instead of the contents of the emails or how they were actually given to WikiLeaks and put into the public. In the missives, Stone and Assange discussed the origin of damaging information on Hillary Clinton that U.S. officials believe was hacked. See, they keep going back to that, was hacked by Russians and handed to WikiLeaks. Never happened. Never happened. See how the mainstream still has to say now, oh, U.S. officials believe that. Never proven in court. The witch hunt was real. And all the evidence shows that stuff was downloaded via a USB stick, not over the internet. That's what the metadata shows. Okay? Seth Rich. And there's plenty of court filings out there. And you can look up Seth Rich in association with Seymour Hersh and even Andrew McCabe being Hersh's source on the matter. And remember, I told you the FBI had done an investigation into Seth Rich when that was not public knowledge. And now we know what? Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, they were trying to get the FBI's information on Seth Rich as well. All real. Notice they're not going to mention that in this. In a direct message on Twitter cited by the FBI, Stone told Assange, as a journalist, it doesn't matter where you get the information, only that is accurate and authentic. And that is true. But you notice again how they're trying to frame it at the Daily Beast in this left fashion that it's still Russian collusion. Doesn't matter how many times that's proven false. It's ridiculous. If the U.S. government moves on you, I will bring down the entire house of cards. Well, Roger, you weren't really able to do that. Everybody has a grandiose opinion of themselves, especially when they've achieved some things. And Stone has been around some very unsavory characters and been one of these political fixers for a very, very long time. Even at times embraced the moniker dirty trickster, right? Embraced that at times. But sometimes, the powers that be are just too damn powerful. All right? Let's see. The trumped-up sexual assault charges being dropped, an apparent reference to the sexual assault investigation by Swedish authorities on Assange. Stone congratulated on them because it was a total farce. Okay, a total farce. They were just allegations and they weren't real. But when I went and protested what the U.S. was doing to Assange in late February before the lockdown, I actually passed, as we passed people, they were calling Julian Assange a rapist. a rape. They bought into that narrative, even though there's zero evidence. Assange replied, between the CIA and DOJ, they're doing quite a lot. On the DOJ side, that's coming mostly strongly from the obsessed with taking down Trump, trying to squeeze us into a deal. Stone wrote back that he was doing everything possible to address the issues at the highest levels of government. But let's progress to now. Okay, we've already had the first round of hearings. The second round of hearings comes up in a couple weeks in May. There is little to no chance that if extradited, Julian Assange will get a fair deal here because his indictment is based on imagination land. Okay, that 14-page indictment, or 14-part indictment, I'm sorry, is based in imagination land. And unfortunately, if you've seen my work with Cassandra Fairbanks' interview, where we find out that Grenell is the one that actually wrote up that indictment, okay, under Trump's orders, because apparently Trump and possibly his son were shown pictures of people, soldiers, children being tortured and killed, and they blamed the WikiLeaks documents for that, despite the fact previously in court with Chelsea Manning, it's already known that none of those WikiLeaks releases put any soldiers in harm's way. And that's extremely important because, again, they're trying to flip the script. And when you have a deep state apparatus that's front men are people like Pompeo and Barr and Haspel, what do you think is going to happen? Of course, the president is going to be fed bad information to make bad decisions. Syria is another great example. And then WikiLeaks comes out in October through December, releasing the OPCW documents that show there was a cover-up, that there was no gas attack in Douma before we bombed them. And it's crickets. It's crickets from Trump himself. It's crickets from the media. And no one wants to discuss how WikiLeaks is still probably the most relevant public disclosure organization out there. And why do I say public disclosure organization? Because here's Donald Trump in 2020 to 2022, the counterintelligence strategy, right? The national counterintelligence strategy, signed off by this man, where, if you read right in the very beginning here, we're going to get right here, they are associating what? Hezbollah, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda, North Korea, Iran, and Cuba, as well as transactional criminal organizations. And here's where it gets really weird, guys. Ideologically motivated entities such as hacktivists, leaktivists, and public disclosure organizations also pose significant threats. Am I an ideologically motivated entity? You damn well better believe I am. I believe in peace. I believe in actual justice. I believe in checks and balance. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe that just because someone has the moniker of general, of president, of mayor, of governor, of a police officer, of a military operative, they are not beyond the law. And that every man or woman that has committed a crime should be tried justly. But that's not the society we live in. But hey, I'm just an ideologically motivated individual. Okay? And if I were to publicly disclose something, I would be a public disclosure organization. That's WikiLeaks. That's what that is. Okay? So nobody in the mainstream has talked about this document. Very few in the alternative media have talked about this document. Props to the Action for Assange crew, Slow News Day Shell, and Gary Franchi for having me on his program on the Next News Network and allowing me to show this document to his very large audience. It's important. So folks, with that being said, please share this information with others. Let them know what's really going on in our world, okay? And if you can, please financially support me. $5, $10, $15, big donors. That's what keeps me going. I was doing it 3 to 7 times a day, guys. I gotta tell you, through all the stress of this whole thing, especially in New York State, New York City in particular, watching all of these different press conferences, whether it be Cuomo, de Blasio, Trump, etc. It's tough. It's tough. It's wearing on me. And don't get me wrong, reading documents, watching these types of things, that's my bread and butter. But when it hits so close to home, right? And for instance, my cousin is now she's at Vassar Hospital right now, finding out whether she's going to be giving plasma for this thing. Okay, I mean it's here. So I'm going to do a big COVID 1984 update later today. I hope that people check it out. We might even do that with an AMA. I want to remind people, we are growing, even though we're completely demonetized. Thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share. Let's get to 60,000, then 70,000, then 100,000. Before they can pull the plug on this channel. And then you can check me out at Rockfin. I do an exclusive, as I did yesterday. You can still check this out for free, by the way. You can just join Rockfin, follow me on Rockfin, and then Tuesday at noon, I do a live stream exclusively on Rockfin, as well as post other material there. I am also on Minds, so go check me out there. And remember, folks, to follow me on Twitter, at Jason Burmis. And I am also a documentary filmmaker, and all of my films are free. What? Free. That's right. I get it all away. In the playlist section on this channel, you can watch Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defied, and Shade, the motion picture. Invisible Empire and Shade are really important films, guys. I really suggest that you go check them out, especially with everything that's going on today. It gives you a 10-year and then like a 7-year perspective of where the Predator class is coming from and where they have gone since that motion picture. So once again, guys, I want to thank you so much, and I'll see you on the flip side.